There we go. Wonderful. All right. Well, thanks so much for inviting me along, Kerry. So let's jump straight into this and let's start sharing, shall we? And let's go into this social media strategy workshop. So that's what we're going to cover over the next kind of half an hour or so. So it'll be quite a high energy session. There'll be lots to cover. And just to get the boring bit out of the way with first, as to who I am and what we do. So I'm Andy. I'm one of the founding team of a company called ContentCal. We used to be a content marketing agency, basically writing content plans for other people to help other businesses get found online. And after doing that for a few years, in 2017, I think it was, we decided to take what we'd learned and build a software company out of it. Software company is called ContentCal. And unsurprisingly, we've used content marketing to grow it. And we've now grown ContentCal from a basement in the UK, well, just outside of London, into now being used by 30,000 businesses in 140 countries through using content marketing. So we've learned a thing or two in the process about how to get found online and how to do so without a ridiculous budget. So there's kind of three things we're going to cover in this very practical session. Firstly, we're going to level set where content marketing fits into our broader marketing mix. When I say content marketing, I typically mean social media or blogs, really. That it could be much more than that, but let's focus the conversation predominantly on social media. But let's think about how we use it most effectively in our broader marketing strategy. Then we'll talk about what does a good strategy look like. I'll introduce you to a 6-step framework that we've created over the time of both doing it for other businesses and doing content marketing for ourselves. And then how can it be done? And this is everyone's favorite bit, which is for the second half of this half an hour session, we then bring all of this to life. So I'll show you how we go through these 6 steps and we use 6 free tools to get us there. And basically we'll be bringing a content strategy to life for a kind of fictitious business we'll take, and we'll use a coffee shop as an example, building a content marketing strategy from scratch with everything we've learned. So essentially in the next half an hour, you'll have the tips, tools, and tactics you'll need to build a content marketing strategy for yourself. So firstly, let's kind of set a bit of context here, because we talk at a time of ridiculous amounts of change, right? And this is from Visa. This is global data that they now estimate that 1 in 4 of all online purchases are influenced through social media. When you look at the growth of social media over the last 12 months, which has been caused from obvious reasons, as I'm sure we know, there's been a 13% growth of social media channels. And what that actually means, that 13% is 480 million new people joining social media channels in the last 12 months. 480 million. It's insane numbers. That now means a total of 4.2 billion people across the world now actively, i.e. log in once a month, use social. So that's 56% of the world's population. Massive, massive numbers. So fundamentally, the way that we both get influenced around and the way we buy products has changed dramatically. So let's look at where it actually sits then. So where does social media sit in our broader strategy? And let's understand content marketing's place. So we've got kind of 3 core tactics, I would say, that we see most businesses execute against when they start to market their business. So paid advertisement. We clearly know what that is, but for this purpose, I'm going to think more about like your digital adverts. So your Google PPC, you know, when you're paying to rank first on Google. So your Google pay-per-click ads and also your Facebook ads. That has great opportunity to drive short-term good traffic, and it will drive it very quickly. So here, if we look at like potential traffic from less to more on this axis and relative time to yield traffic from short to long term, paid advertisement stacks up really well. Then we go on to the right hand side, we've got content marketing and SEO. And what I mean by that is like writing blogs and doing your kind of what I term as long form content to help Google pick you up and for Google to show your website and your homepage like first on Google or as high up in the kind of key search results that you're going for. So if someone's looking for, let's take coffee shop, for example, how do you rank compared to all your competitors? That takes a long time to grow, but ultimately has the biggest yield. And then you've got social media and PR that fits really nicely in the middle of this, balancing out the fact that paid media is great for short-term bursts, but it doesn't sustain over the long term. Social media does give you an opportunity to drive more short-term growth than long-form content marketing and SEO. But ultimately kind of creates a nice bridge between, what you're working towards, which is still ultimately, appearing first when someone wants to search a topic on Google, because that's typically where people are going first and foremost. But creating this or thinking about this diagram when you're kind of building your marketing strategy is really good to bear that in mind. Because ultimately that breaks down to the two types of marketing. Marketing is actually very simple when you break it down, and there are two sides of the marketing coin. There is one side, which is activation, and we'll call this short-term activity. This relates to this kind of paid stuff that we were talking about. Great for short-term activity, short-term spikes. Because ultimately what we're trying to do is appeal to people that are in market for a certain product or service right now. We do so by targeting with a rational message: buy this product because of XYZ reason. We target to a narrower base because we only want to find the people that are in market. And the way we determine success is through sales metrics. So the amounts of clicks, the amount of conversions, it's all very easy to track. So paid media has its place. But the other side of the marketing coin is your more long-term activity. And we're going to call it brand marketing. But fundamentally and slightly counterintuitively, this is about out-of-market buyers. So people that don't actually know that they want your product or service today. And it's our job to kind of generate demand. And it's this kind of brand marketing that is the heartland of content marketing. And it kind of represents the social media PR and content and SEO bit, the bit that takes a little bit longer to get going, but fundamentally has much larger upside in terms of organizational growth. And it's all about having a good balanced mix between these strategies and understanding their place. But if we look at like the brand marketing piece, you see that it's the other side of that marketing coin, like I was saying. Instead of a rational message, it's an emotional message, like why we do what we do, our purpose, our mission, our values, our beliefs, fundamentally human driving factors that help people make a decision and generate some kind of bias towards you. And it's about going broad with the message. And we're going to talk about broader targeting. But if you want to kind of contextualize it in just one sentence, content marketing is about how we generate demand by creating trust at scale. And generating trust is the most important thing that we need to do with our content marketing, because trust is the thing that drives purchasing behavior. Trust is that fundamental emotion that encourages you to buy from company A versus company B. And trust is the thing that predicates a reputation. And your reputation is the thing that predicates a brand. So you can see how this is all interlinked. So now, with the theory bit out of the way, let's start to make this a little more practical, and let's bring in the marketing funnel. This is an oversimplified way of looking at the world, but it helps us shape how content marketing fits in. So content marketing really only serves its most effective purpose at the top of the funnel, how we generate awareness at scale and how we get people to consider us against alternatives. So if we zoom in on the top two tiers of that funnel, we'll start to see what kind of content works well here. So this quadrant represents this funnel. So it's a bit of a cross section, if you will, where the top two quadrants here are your awareness stage of the funnel, the top of the funnel. And you can see, as we've been talking about, it's about generating that emotional connection. And we can do so by entertaining people through quizzes, giveaways, and games. They're always fantastic ways of generating trust in a short term. So that can be really powerful. So that's entertainment value content. And then we've also got inspirational value content. So influencers, endorsements, reviews, things that will encourage people, inspire them to kind of gravitate or have that kind of fear of missing out, if you will. And I'm going to call on this word influencers here. Now, sometimes this word can be misconstrued, I would say. And when I say influencers, I'm not going to suggest that anyone goes out and works with Instagrammers with thousands of followers. It's about working with other people in your space collaboratively whom you share a target audience, a common mission and purpose, and you can work together to create fantastic content. That sounds still a bit broad. I'm going to explain that more as we go on. But fundamentally, this piece has been our single piece that has determined our success at ContentCal in terms of our content marketing, how we've worked with others to help their others share our message across social channels. I'm going to come back to that, as I said. So that's kind of top of the funnel, right? So as I've been talking about this marketing funnel, this awareness piece is all about entertainment value, quizzes, giveaways, and games, and inspiration value, influencers, endorsements, reviews. That's the thing that works well at the top of the funnel. Then we go down to the second stage of the funnel, which is your consideration, which is much more, as we talk about, kind of a rational consideration here. And here is one of the most important elements of content marketing, is this educational piece here. So this quadrant here is, for me, one of the most important. You can build a whole content strategy just on this educational piece. And to be honest, we have done just that at ContentCal. So we've got so many tools in our armory that we can use to educate our potential audience, which could be from news, blog posts, podcasts, trend reports, guides, research papers, whatever it might be. And we're going to walk through a process in a minute about how we understand what our audience wants, or what our potential audience or our desired audience want to learn about, so we can create content that talks for that. But fundamentally, education and providing value generates trust. Trust breeds a reputation, and a reputation is the thing that predicates a brand. So now we can start to see how powerful content marketing can be when we start to use it in the right way. But of course, we can't build trust and educate people unless we know who we're trying to serve. So this is all being recorded, so you can kind of reference this and come back to it. But this is our persona document at ContentCal. Now, I could at this point say, oh, you should know your customers, because that's who you're writing your content for. But here I want to go one step further and actually show you this is what we work to at ContentCal. There's a couple of things I want to point out. We don't have the time to go through every single facet on here, but the least important part here is this bit, which is your age and gender demographics. It's useful to know because it helps you figure out which platforms you should be on. So take ContentCal's example here, where our kind of typical demographic skew between 25 to 35 and skew female. So naturally, given that information, Instagram's a good platform for us because the demographics, there's a good overlap there. But more important than that, and as we've been talking about throughout the last, how long have we been doing this for? 14 minutes, is that the human driving factors, the emotional factors, are much more powerful in terms of what you understand about your target audience. These values, these fears, their goals, their ambitions, those are the things that are so powerful for you to learn or know when you're starting to embark on a social media strategy, because it'll mean that you can talk in much more relatable and human terms. So that's the persona document. Now, you're not going to know all of this detail straight off the bat. This can kind of be informed as you get more into this. So don't worry, you don't need to do all this before you embark on it. But certainly I would encourage you to spend a bit of time documenting what you know about your target audience. And as a result, your content will be stronger, will be more relevant, obviously. And fundamentally, in content marketing, this is what we do. We're writing content for someone else, not for us. And fundamentally, that is the different mindset we need to think about when we're writing content or doing content marketing, is that when we're writing copy for our homepage on our website, for example, we're writing it for us predominantly. Go with us because we're the best at X, Y, Z. Whereas, with content marketing, we're writing it for someone else. So we absolutely need to be real mindful of that and have a kind of clear picture of who we're writing for. Anyway, with that, before we create a strategy, and we're about to get into the kind of practical bit now, we need to be clear on something. And this is an element I see missed in so many content strategies, but it is also something very easy for me to say, but quite hard to do in practice. And it's this: what do you want to be known for? Fundamentally, social media, content marketing in general, has an unprecedented ability to humanize a brand. The best brands on social are inherently human, and they have a real personality to them. So let's take Innocent Smoothies here in the UK. Their social content is utterly brilliant, right? It really, you genuinely want to follow it because they are known for their kind of comedic takes on things. They are known for their humor. It's like following a comedian. So that is what they do. That is what they're known for. On the other side of the fence is Patagonia, which is the US clothing brand, which they are so passionate about the circular economy, and they're the first organization to sell secondhand clothes in their stores now. And so they've gone big on that sustainability thing. And it's when you hang your hat on something, when you become known for something, that's when you create much stronger connections. Just in the same way that you might well be known in your personal life for being the funny one or the clever one or the good listener or whatever it might be. We want to have that personality transcend into our social content. And that in that sentence, that has kind of hit on the key reason so many businesses, I would venture the majority of businesses, do not do or understand social media well, because they're too scared to make that leap to come from, oh right, here's formal corporate communication, into actually we're on social to be fundamentally human. So once we understand that, we understand the emotional connection we want to make, then content marketing gets a whole heap easier. And when you're passionate about something, let's take Patagonia with the circular economy and the lack of sustainability of the fashion industry. When you're that passionate about something, there'll be some people that maybe shop at boohoo.com and could not care less about that stuff. And that's fine. They don't want those as customers. But when they've drawn that line, the people that really care about that stuff advocate for the brand very clearly. And I would sooner have a smaller group of really engaged, passionate individuals that are connected to the brand, rather than a broad swathe of people that are slightly more disinterested. So with that, let's then kind of take all of these kind of fluffy theories that I've been talking about and start to make this inherently practical. 6-step content strategy. So this is a strategy that we've developed over the years of doing content marketing. Like I said, both doing it for others and also doing it for ourselves. The ContentCal 6 C's, as we call it. So we're going to talk through each step one by one. And at each step, I'm going to show you a tool which helps us deliver against that step, most of which are free, which is always good. So it should be very accessible. So 6 free tools. Here's the ones. Yeah, I'm slightly biased between one because you can see that logo here. I'm one of the founding team of it. None of what I'll show you is, or the process I'm going to walk through is not contingent on you using any of these tools. The theories are absolutely solid, but these tools will just help you get a head start. Anyway, disclaimers out the way. Let's go into it. As it should do, and as we've been talking about, being customer first, content marketing is customer driven marketing. That's where it starts. Step one, customer. Our job here is to get inside our customers' heads. And let's pretend in this scenario, we are a local coffee shop somewhere in the UK. We don't have any fans or followers. We have nothing, no strategy. We're going to create it from scratch, and we're going to do so in 15 minutes. Let's go. Right. Tool number one, keywordstrategytool.com, entirely free. You'll love it. The tool is not a looker, I'll warn you, and you'll probably lose about 2 hours in it because you'll be fascinated by the results. But either way, yeah, consider yourself warned, but it's a good one. There's no paid version of this either. It's another tool that's built in the UK as well, which is always good. So keywordstrategytool.com. What we're going to do, because we're a coffee shop, we're going to search the word coffee. We're going to look across Google and YouTube because they are the 2 primary search engines. This is where people go to find things, as we all know, Google and YouTube. And if I cast your mind back to that quadrant that we were talking about 5 minutes ago, and in the bottom left, there was that education piece. And I said you could build a whole content strategy based on educational content. We just need to find out what people want to learn about. And this is how we do it. This is how we get inside our customer's mind and find out what they're interested in. We're going to search the word coffee. We're going to look just in the UK, but we could look further afield if we need to. Searching that pulls back nearly 900 keywords. What keyword essentially means is these are about nearly 900 sentences that include the phrase coffee or the word coffee at some point in that phrase. Now, none of us have time to go through 900 keywords because we'd be bored senseless by doing that. So we need to prioritize it in some other way. So we want to look at search volume. So looking at search volume, we'll then prioritize all of this in order of search volume. Now, you're immediately going to look at what's number one and see coffee shop ranks number one. So, okay, well, that's good. Coffee shops are popular in the UK, so we'll take that one off. But fundamentally, I mean, what's that actually telling us about our content plan? How is that getting us inside our customer's mind? But there are a couple of things we can learn here. One, we know that coffee shops are popular, so that's a tick in that box rather. But actually, there's interesting seasonality going on here. You can see there's a significant dip in terms of searches for coffee shop when we go into late spring, early summer. And you can start to see that really ramp up towards the end of the year, like autumn, winter, it peaks. So actually, we could phase our campaigns and coordinate our marketing activity around this seasonality. So that is actually quite interesting. But in terms of getting inside of our customers' minds and understanding what they're searching for, my attention's drawn to search term number 2 and 4, where we've got coffee near me and coffee shops near me, with a combined volume of nearly 3 million monthly searches. What that's telling me actually is that near me location, or that near me element of that, tells me that the location of the coffee shop is really important. And location is our first clue as to the first one of our themes we're going to create. That's the first time you've heard me say the word themes. And we're going to talk more about this, but content themes are something you should absolutely be thinking about when you're doing your content plan. Themes are essentially topics to which you're going to build your content plan around. These topics are the ones that you believe that your target audience have most interest in and will give you great structure to your content plan. And taking a thematic approach like this opens up your creative options. So let's take this example where, let's imagine that we're going to be launching our coffee shop and we might be thinking, all right, well, what we're going to do is put out on social, look, we've just opened 20% off soya lattes, or some kind of slightly bland content like that. Instead, when we think in the thematic way, and we know that location is a really important facet for our potential customers, we can actually be talking about much more creative and kind of more human driving angles, which is, the best places to take your family for a walk in whatever location we're in, or, best places to take your dog for a walk, or things to do, or days out. All of that stuff pertains to location, because clearly having a coffee is part of a broader suite of activity that people will do in a certain location. So we need to create content relevant to that, because that's the thing that's going to help us kind of drive better affinity, better connection with our customers. So location is the first one of our themes. We're going to come back to our themes slightly later on. But right now, what we're going to do is actually go away from the quantitative search analysis that we've been doing right now. So we've just been looking at like search tools of Google and YouTube, and now we want to look at social, which then takes us into our second tool, which is called Lytics. I've got to come out of this example, this coffee shop example, for a second, because I need to use real data. So I have to use kind of ContentCal data here. So here, what we're doing, we're searching the word content marketing. And you could do so for coffee or whatever industry you're in. And it's going to tell you the most popular keywords related to that specific term, and also the top performing hashtags. So now, not only do we understand the search volumes around the word coffee and what people are searching, we also understand now some of the kind of keywords and the things that we should be including in our content. But more importantly, as we stick with Lytics, we've clicked on this little pie chart here. And this is going to give us one of our most important metrics. And I would say the killer metric and the most important metric when it comes to content marketing, and the least used, which is very ironic. This is called share of voice. Share of voice is such an important metric for you tracking brand growth as far as content marketing goes. We can use Lytics to track this. And here, what share of voice relates to, and what this number is basically a count of one for every time you're mentioned, not just on social, but on blogs, on reviews, anywhere on the internet, basically. If your brand name is mentioned, this tracks it. And then you can kind of compare how often you're being mentioned compared to your competitor. And then that gives you a share of voice relevant to your competition. So now you can start to see how the market looks. How are we doing? Who are the big competitors in the space? So we can start to understand, how they're doing. But then this leads on to something really, really important to understand about content marketing, is that the more that people talk about you and mention you, the more your social reach increases. So you can see the amount of mentions we've generated over this last time period, and you can see the amount of reach it's given us. Cast your mind back to that marketing funnel that we showed earlier, and the top was the thing called awareness. And it's the top of the funnel and the widest for a good reason, because it's about going broad with our message and stretching that top of the funnel as wide as we can go. The more people that talk about you, the more people become aware of you, because essentially that is the power of social. It's compounding. So if we just talk about ourselves as ContentCal, we have 4,500 followers on Twitter. So our potential mass audience on Twitter, or max audience, is typically 4,500. Very rarely will all of those people see our message. But as soon as other people start sharing us, our reach increases exponentially because, someone with 20,000 followers shares us. So that's 20,000 new eyeballs on our content. Someone with 100,000 followers shares us. You can see it goes up and up and up. And that's where this social reach number becomes such an important metric to track in terms of how much your brand is growing. And the more people that talk about you, the more your trust grows, because naturally you're being referenced by more people. So like the frequency of mention naturally grows trust. And when trust grows, your reputation grows. When reputation grows, so does your brand. So you can see how all of this is intrinsically linked to everything that we've just been talking about. And this is, I said I would return to this as a really important point about the word influencers. So this tool mentioned Lytics here. I've just clicked on the option below the pie chart where it's now showing us who are the people that are mentioning us. So here you can see some of these people with large followers. And in the last month, we've been mentioned 178 times, which has given us 160,000, a reach of 160,000. Just in case anyone's unclear about what reach is the amount of people that have seen your content on social. Whether they engage with it is a different matter, but they've kind of saw it in a feed as they're scrolling through. So that reach is a critical bit to track as far as brand awareness goes. But anyway, so here we can see the people mentioning us. And here, like what we do regularly at ContentCal is, let's take Lytics here. Regularly with Lytics, I'll ask her to contribute to blogs that we're writing. Let's give you a real life example. So at the beginning of every year, I write a kind of content marketing predictions blog, and I try and get as much contribution to that as possible. Not only does that create much better content because it's more perspectives other than what's up here, it also means that, let's say we get 10 people to contribute to it. Once I've compiled that blog, I will then write to those 10 people to say, this blog's going out. Thank you for your contribution. Would you mind sharing it? And now we got 10 people with 100,000 followers sharing it. So suddenly it's like, we've gone from 4,000 followers on Twitter to 1 million followers through that one piece of content. And unsurprisingly, every time we invest that time in putting together a real strong piece of content in collaboration with others, it becomes our top performing piece of content, unsurprisingly. It just requires a bit of effort. And once you think about the power of social, once you understand this and want to put a bit of effort into doing it, that's how you grow. And fundamentally, this is a thing that has determined our growth as a business. Right. I am definitely going to go a bit longer on this session than I usually do. We've got about 10 minutes left and I want to run through this, but I explained that in quite a lot of detail, so hopefully that was useful. Anyway, the next sections don't take as long, you'll be pleased to know. So now we've got a real good picture of our customer. We understand what they're searching for. We understand the keywords on social that are working well. We've looked at our share of voice, so we know how the market looks. And we also have seen some people already that are kind of engaging with us and, could offer us great collaborative opportunities to work on some content together. But now we want to try and kind of take what we've learned and build on it to create some really good context and some relevant content for our audience. We're going back to the first tool we showed, which is Keyword Strategytool. And now what we're trying to do is hoover out all of the questions that people are asking. Going back to that point that I made earlier about kind of the importance of education and getting inside of our customers' heads of understanding what are the things they want to learn. So we're back in these nearly 900 keywords we found earlier. And this tool makes it really easy for us to hoover out all the questions that people are asking. Just manually type in every question preposition you could think of, like can, when, why, where, which. And it then pulls out a nice little list for you of all of the questions that people are asking that relate to the word coffee. And we do one final thing, which is look at search volume. And that creates us a nice prioritized list of all of the questions that are being asked are in around the word coffee and its associated search volume. Basically, what we've done here is got a year's worth of content ideas straight off the bat. These are the things that people are searching that they want to learn about in our market or industry, which in this instance is coffee. So here we're going to create the rest of our themes. So clearly how-tos should be one of our themes. So we've already got that location theme that we did earlier. So how-tos is going to be another one. There's lots of health and wellness orientated questions here as well. always slightly concerned about how high can dogs drink coffee ranks. Well, there's nearly 5,000 people that search that every single month. Yeah, the mind boggles with some people anyway. But health and wellness clearly is a bit of curiosity in the market around coffee. So we're going to have that as a theme. So we've got location, we've got how-tos, health and wellness. And as we scroll down, we see things around sustainability and recipes as well. So let's take those 5 themes and run with those. But what we're going to do is literally press this export button, which then takes us to an Excel document, which we can then copy and paste and upload it to the third tool here, which is ContentCal, which is a tool we're going to use to organize everything that we're learning and putting it together in a tool to kind of create a good plan. So here, what we're going to do is take all of those ideas that we've taken off Keyword Strategy Tool, and we've just got that pinned to the top of our calendar. There's a year's worth of content ideas there at the tip of our fingers. So we're not running out of inspiration anytime soon. Then we're going into the fourth tool, which is called Besthashtags Com. Unsurprisingly, what this tool does is allow you to put in your chosen hashtag, in this instance, coffee. It pulls back the most popular ones, the ones that are most frequently used, that is, and the ones that have received the most likes. What we're going to do is simply press the copy button, and we're going to paste them as snippets in ContentCal. So this is where ContentCal can be really powerful to help you kind of organize all of this research you're doing and putting it into a coherent strategy. Saving as a snippet will mean that you're always going to be using your best practice research, which is like, these are the most liked Instagram hashtags. And you're also going to save time when it comes to creating content, because you saved it as a snippet. All you're going to do is press one button and that group of hashtags comes into your content. Do the same for Twitter, and you might want to do the same for some people we want to mention that we found through Mention Lytics. Then we've also got our category tags, which relates to those content themes that we created earlier. Like I said at the start, we want to create a nice structure to our content plan. We've got good color-coded coordination between all of our themes and topics that we're coming up with. So there's our category tags. Give them a color code, and away we go. Go into tool number 5, daysoftheyear.com. Once again, this is about using hashtags wisely and for you not to miss an opportunity. Go to daysoftheyear.com, browse the calendar and look at any upcoming national days, whether it's International Women's Day or National Health and Wellness Week, or whatever it is. I mean, there's even something called National Password Day, for goodness sake. So there is a national day for everything. And if you are an IT security business, you want to make sure you don't miss out on National Password Day. Because ultimately these national days will always trend, and every time we're using hashtags, we at ContentCal are using national day hashtags, we always see a spike in reach of our content because people are searching those hashtags. So browse the calendar, find the things that are relevant for you, and then add that to your own content calendar so that you never miss an opportunity. So now creativity is going to be fostered already by those ideas we've taken from Keyword Strategy Tool and the structure that we now have using those kind of content themes. But something else that can be great for creativity is meaning that when you kind of spot something in the moment that you think, actually, that'd be a good bit of inspiration for me to use in my content. You don't necessarily want to take an article and share stuff in the moment on social immediately. You do want to create a plan. But sometimes you just want to add inspiration to your plan. So this is a free tool from ContentCal, which is called our web clipper. If you use Google Chrome, just search ContentCal for Chrome and you can install it. And basically what it allows you to do is, if you find an interesting article, like we have on this, something about this True Brew coffee house, we can think, right, well, I don't want to post anything about it now, but actually, it's given us an idea for a piece of content. So we just want to metaphorically stick a pin in it so we can kind of save that, and it saves it to our content hub, which essentially is our kind of, digital pinboard of ideas of content. Where it's an opportunity, whether we wanted to use and reshare this particular article on social, we could, or we might want to just kind of gather our inspiration to build a new piece of content out of. Either way, creativity is fostered massively when you've got a whole load of inspiration to work from. So that's what we're trying to solve here. Creativity is also fostered by collaboration, and there's 2 elements to collaboration. Firstly, there is internal collaboration, where the best content ideas are often created together. So if you have a team, or or anyone else in a business, if you're working as a solo business, this piece isn't relevant, so you can close your ears for 30 seconds. But if you work even with one other team member, being able to centralize all of your ideas when it comes to content is so important. So this tool allows, it's just basically like a form, but it allows anyone with an idea to share this into a logical place. Basically, you don't need a ContentCal account to do it. It's free for anyone else to access. It just means that in this form, anyone has the opportunity to send in content ideas. And we've seen our customers use this incredibly effectively, for getting content ideas, not just from across their team, but also from their customers and partners. Meaning that anything put in here, any idea put in here, goes into this library we're just looking at in Content Hub. So basically, we've got not just the inspiration that we've saved using that Google Chrome extension, we've got ideas and suggestions being shared by elsewhere, both from our customers and partners, really giving us so many different angles to the content that we could create, so we can build off, suggestions and inspiration, really fostering creativity by getting many more perspectives on our content ideas. Now, for the second part of collaboration and for the final tool, which is called Hype Auditor. Now, I've been talking quite a lot throughout the course of this about the importance of working with others collaboratively. So being able to get other people to contribute with you on a piece of content. For an example, it might be the same scenario that you want to use that I shared earlier, where you're maybe writing a blog on a certain article, maybe a predictions blog, and you wanted to get contribution from others. That's a great way of working with someone. You might want to get someone to do a guest webinar for you. That's a brilliant way of collaborating with someone. Same if you invite them to be a guest on a podcast. All of these are great collaborative opportunities. And the reason I keep on talking about it is that, with a tool like Hype Auditor, we can find people relevant to a certain industry or topic. So I've searched coffee here. Now, I wouldn't go and approach anyone with 24 million followers unless you have very deep pockets. We certainly don't. I would look in the inverse, look at people between, 1 to 15,000 followers. These are the people that are likely to work with you. Make sure they've got a good audience quality score. So i.e. they have a really relevant audience and they operate in the right category. And then you can go ahead and message those individuals directly, message them through social, because, it's very easy to find those people and go ahead and get in touch. Yes, it requires a bit of work to do, but you'll be glad you did, because there's huge value in this. Not only does your content get better as a result, it also means that when you've collaboratively created a piece of content, it means the person that you've created it with is more inclined to share that with you, or share that for you rather, which dramatically increases your audience. And for me, that's one of those things that people really don't think about in their content plan. They only think about the stuff that they are posting, which is correct. And, we've covered a lot of that today, but also think about what's happening or what other people are posting on your behalf, because that's going to drive significant growth in terms of new reach and new eyeballs on your content ultimately. So they're the 6 tools. So now we're in the final throes of it. So now we're going to put it all together. So here we're back in ContentCal. So we've done our research. We think we've got a good understanding now of what the customer wants contextually, what we think is relevant. We've done a lot of hashtag research. We've understood some kind of influencers within the space. We're in a good place to start building our plan. Got our content ideas, which we simply copy and pasted from Keyword Strategytool. We've got our national days, which we simply taken from daysoftheyear.com. So we're not going to miss those national days and those associated hashtags. We're going to go into our content hub, which is where we can find any articles, the things that we saved using that little Google Chrome extension that we shared earlier, or if anyone else, other members of the team, of your team, have kind of shared any ideas and suggestions with you, here's where that content would be. And let's just say, there's an idea that's in here that we want to use. We're going to press this use content button. Here we can start to plan this to go out across all of our social channels, etc. Here we can develop the content. Here is where we're going to put in this little kind of snippet tool. Remember how we saved all of those hashtags from Besthashtags.com, and also people we want to mention either from Hype Auditor or mention Lytics. See how all of these tools and this research is kind of manifesting to really simplify and speed up how we create content. Go ahead and pop these in. We're going to give it as a tag of health and wellness, because this is one of our content themes that we've come up with. And then we're going to add that post. So here we've now got our posts all scheduled. all built, we put our best foot forward, and it's all organized around these content themes, running a different theme every single day. That content's all done, it's scheduled, it will be automatically posted at the date and time. So here on Facebook at Monday 19th, this will be posted. Same on Twitter and any other social channel you want to connect. And now as that content gets automatically published, now we want to analyze the results. So now we can go back in at the end of the week or month and understand, did our audience grow? Did our engagement go up? So our likes, shares, and comments, did that increase? But really importantly, we can click the filters button up the right here, and we can bring in the performance based on these themes and topics. So we can look at our precise content performance for our content themes. So did location perform better than sustainability? Did health and wellness perform better than how-tos? Whatever. We can see, did engagement grow, differ depending on different things we spoke about. We can also look at like the particular posts that perform well relevant to those themes and topics. So now we've got a real good idea and understanding of what's working well. And let's just say hypothetically, the health and wellness theme worked really well. We can see precisely the content that worked well for that theme. And we can press the reuse post button here, this kind of little arrow icon, which then takes a draft of that message and ends it and sends it to your kind of next week's content plan. Whilst I don't advocate for you putting out the same thing again and again, I do advocate for you taking like your learnings from last week or last month or whatever cycle you want to work in and drawing them through into the next week and next month. So you build like a template or skeleton content plan to build from. Because once we've done that, the whole process of this cycle gets quicker and quicker. Not only have we've done some fantastic research, we put our best foot forward, and now we're getting the data that's either kind of justifying and kind of reinforcing our research or making us think slightly differently. And that's why these 6 C's are a circle, because they're self-perpetuating, self-fulfilling, because, with consistency comes momentum, momentum comes results. And that is that. So yeah, I'm open for any questions. This session's being recorded. So for those on the recorded session, here's my email address if you want to ask any questions related to content marketing. It doesn't have to just be related to ContentCal. Always happy to talk about content marketing. As you can tell, I'm very passionate about this as a subject. Always welcome connections on LinkedIn. I talk about this stuff all the time. And if you'd like to find out more about ContentCal, there is our website. There is a free version and free trials if you just want to test it out. With that, any questions at all? I hope this was useful. Cue awkward silence.
Oh yeah, the awkward silence. I'm happy for if anybody wants. I've just typed in the messages. You can type either in the chat or ask a question. Come off mic and ask a question. That's absolutely fine. And obviously you can go back to Andy at a later date should something something come up. Oh yeah, there's awkward silence broken. Look, great feedback, superb presentation.
Thank you, Duncan. I appreciate that. It's always good to hear. I appreciate it.
Good. If nobody's got any questions, we'll close up there. Appreciate everybody's busy schedules, but I'll just give you a few more seconds to potentially ask something. All right, we'll stop the recording there.